А наша следующая тема — это тренды в разработке и мифы про кибербезопасность, которые
Our next topic is myths on cybersecurity,
которые потенциально могли бы работать в компании.
which potentially could work in research companies. People say that there is a cybersecurity, which is a separate industry, which is not really interesting because nobody knows what they do there. So let me go and develop something more fashionable, mobile applications or clouds. And right now we're going to speak together with the managing director of Positive Technologies, who is responsible for development, Alexey Mandreva. Alexey, hello. Hello, Vova. So from the very beginning, if you will look at both of us, generally, I can tell you that we have not agreed about colors. Only the shoes are different, but pants are similar. But we do see our reflections when we look at each other. Yeah, synchronicity. Losha, you are responsible for a big segment of development in Positive. How many people work for you? 350 people. 350. Okay. Tell me, please, is it interesting to be a developer? This is the first part of the question. And is there any difference between a developer for the cybersecurity and a developer somewhere else? Well, it's very cool to be a developer in cybersecurity. You started with a joker. Yeah, the main question. Let's see. To my point of view, this is one of the most interesting jobs today because developer, first of all, it's an engineer, person who creates something new. And cybersecurity is an area which from one side is an integral part of IT industry, and on the other side, it's a very narrow specialized area. And those solutions that we create are having the aim to discover the criminals and stop the criminals. Of course, from one side, it's a classical engineering work to create software products which are very highly technological, they work with high loads, they are very complicated architecturally, and from the point of view of the architecture of the application. But on the other side, they contain the expertise developed by our experts, and all this content and all this knowledge that our expert team owns, all this can be applied and used. So we can replace an expert on the side of the client through this software, and this is something very complicated. And answering your question, product development in the area of cybersecurity, it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge when you understand that there is a red team, attackers, and of course, everything depends in which conditions your product operates, and you have to discover those attackers. You have to create conditions when your product will be able to discover and respond to attackers. You came from another industry when you came to Positive. You have not been working in cybersecurity industry previously. What have changed in your perception of development when you came to us? Tell me on your example. Well, it was an interesting path. As most of us in a department of development and research, our path was not related to the information security and in general. My personal path started from company which everybody knows. Since the beginning, I've been working in Acronis, and I worked there for 10 years, and we've been creating high-tech products back then. This company was growing. We had a lot of global level IPs, which were admitted by best analytical magazines as top high-tech solutions from the point of view of backup and restore. Backup and restoration of data. So this story was more about IT market and had no relation to information security. But then it did happen that when I moved to Yandex, searching for more interesting projects for myself.
Эм,
I've been noticed by raiders of recruiting people who've been searching for proper developers, especially for positive technologies. And from one side, it did seem to me that this area is like, what is information security? Very strange solution.
Да.
Well, looks like some antiviruses
занимался такими интересными продуктами,
because I've been doing such interesting products where you had to work with file systems, with big data, with clouds, and then some antiviruses. It's like, well, it's not for me, I've said. But when I've learned more about it, I decided to see what kind of a company is it. And when I've learned about people inside of this company, when I've learned
ребята пытались создать. И чем были
about,
ближе мы, конечно, не мог.
about the product,
Для меня
I've got poisoned by this beauty, and this story became very interesting to me. I found a place for myself, and I found new challenges, I found new results, so I had to join. And last 7 years,
вовлеченным
Ну вот
в эту
все,
I feel myself deeply involved. But what was that main trigger,
благодаря которому ты перешел из
thanks to which
интереса
you switched from another interesting area? Because Yandex is also an interesting company with a lot of software products when you moved in unknown cybersecurity sector.
Ну,
What was so interesting there?
я почувствовал челлендж. А мне кажется,
I felt the challenge. And I think that
вообще работа
most important component of engineers operation is to understand your own purpose, what you are doing. When you create a car or a rocket, or maybe when you create some IT solution which works with big data, for example, you always have a challenge.
хорошо чувствуешь.
Challenge that you feel, challenge that makes you wake up every morning and make
Такой вызов.
next steps. So I found such challenge in building information security solutions.
Ам,
And
На самом деле, что мне стало
well, honestly speaking, what became very understandable
элемент
by me
интереса и по ходу
and how did I feel interest in this area? What is informational security in the enterprise level?
enterprise. Наша задача
Especially speaking about big enterprises, our clients are big and very big enterprises. And it's always really high level of requirements to the network components. For example, let's look at traffic analysis. What is traffic analysis in poor enterprise network? There are dozens, even hundreds of objects. It's a very complicated set of protocols and big set of protocols through which services communicate with each other.
высокий ландшафт угроз.
It also involves a wide landscape of threats for which we have big number of solutions in enterprise. And when you create a solution which addresses, for example, network monitoring, you have all this IT landscape standing in front of your eyes. You have to develop such network traffic and connection sessions technology, which would allow us to do it losslessly, work with traffic. Also, you have to develop the expertise of network high load. You have to develop network expertise, generally speaking.
Когда на
Because those days have passed when the network, when the chain was looked at as
какие-то
something that has to be looked URLs or IP,
далеко. Сегодня смотрим,
but the network monitoring is too far away. Right now, we're looking deeply in the protocol. Who participates in these discussions? Which data do they replace?
используют
Which tactics and techniques are used by attackers against certain solutions which positive develops in order to develop their attacks and for us to find the solution. So you dive into all this information, and diving into this information, you can invent how the application should work in order to be able to see these attackers and actions of the
закрепление.
and certain stages of investigation, setting, promotion. Okay, let's speak about this part. On one side, I do understand that you should have, while working in cybersecurity, you should have a wide breadth of networking knowledge about networks,
Инфраструктуре.
об
Сетевой.
IT-инфраструктуре,
about IT infrastructure,
как вообще подходить к разработке.
in order to understand how the products can be developed. And this is the hacking part. How do you build your relations with a team?
По действию.
How do they provide you with this information about hacker actions and how it does
Ты знаешь,
change in how do you change your products? Well, it's an interesting question. Our path and search for those formats within which we can create products, which from one side could be
были эксперты.
and from the other side would be expert oriented. This is a story which, honestly speaking, well, I can write a book about it.
Которые сегодня у нас
How did we move into this format that has been implemented by us? But we did discover this vein, this form of relations.
эксперты, как люди
Experts,
далекие от
as people who far away from development, they always look at development department as, well, we gave you an objective and you have to solve it within a product. Of course, we have to do just that.
исполнителя, когда
And clients and executive format is like when they get
работает.
development for the developers. Sometimes it doesn't work because only in a dialogue, and this experience have shown us, and in a dialogue between expert objective, which is given by the expert, and the expert, which understand how would they see the architectural solution, how would they look at realization of those goals.
Только при
It wouldn't be possible without any dialogue, and only with the availability of this constant dialogue you can achieve something.
Которые
What about the dialogue? You have some new guys who have seen new attack scenarios, like standoff, for example. Now,
вот так,
and they're telling you, well, we've been attacked this way, this way, this way, and this way. And you come to the conclusion of what is to be done with the products. Yes, we do have certain practical approach.
разрабатывая решение, например, раз уж мы
Developing solutions, especially if we speak about the analysis of traffic,
с одной
how the dialogue happens right now. On one side, we have a goal. We come to the idea
мониторинга, анализа,
that from deep monitoring, analysis, and indexing of the traffic, our solutions are not full. And it's irrespective. Do we have it, or maybe these are amending technologies, but back then we did have CE.
мы понимаем, что
On the other side, we do understand that expertise in traffic processing is something that needs a future development of the company. How it happens often. You take some open source, for example, Node or Suricate projects, and then you use it. You take signatures, they have mechanisms, and it looks like it's a real solution. But when you start thinking which particular objective you're solving, you come to an idea that, oh my God,
ни одно из open source решений из коробки не работает.
I didn't see any open source solutions with that particular quality.
но сделать это в масштабе уже
Yeah, you can take it, but you cannot make an enterprise solution that will work for tens of gigabits. You cannot do that without your own school, without deep level of modifications, and you have to begin everything from the scratch. Yeah, without any practical expertise in the area of network forensics, network security, you will not be able to take and create a product which could see the activities of attackers in the network.
Команд.
So we start collecting a team,
История с NAD, продуктом, про который мы
and the story with a NOD product that we working, which discovers attacks in the traffic.
15 годов.
It have started since 2014, 2015. Can you imagine how many years have passed?
Школу,
We have created the school since I was like 16,
так и в разработке. И они все
in expertise and in development, and they've been working with each other. Developers
грубо говоря, осваивали лучшие
created,
институт этот. Работали.
извини.
they've been discovering the best information. Well, I will stop you just for a minute because we do have actual attacks. As you understand, it's a live show, and we did have a certain fraud in ticket sales system. I see information on the screen, and video is going to show us what has happened.
Ай-яй-яй, у нас произошла атака на транспортную систему в результате...
We did have an attack against transportation system, in result of which we could have events which you just seen on your screen. And this is impact of trains. Hackers have gained access to electric train rails shift, and trains went off track.
Об этом думать, что может произойти в реальности.
We don't want to think what can happen in reality, but let's go back to interview. Losha, I have a question about the development trends.
Назови, что сейчас
Can you name what is interesting, where the cybersecurity development moves, into which direction?
Самый интересный вопрос, о котором хочется поговорить.
It's an interesting question that we'd like to speak about.
То, что мы наблюдаем последние...
Objectively, things that we observe in recent 10 years.
Ответить, это унификация продуктов, которые вендоры
It's a unification of products which information security vendors
комплектовывают в единую экосистему.
are putting into a single ecosystem or a platform or a framework. There are different names, and they do have a goal of creating of a single console which controls all the subsystems and products from which
Для того, чтобы
the solution is being assembled, so that we could solve
задачи, которые...
all the problems from one place.
Это такой тренд, он очень понятный.
And this is a very understandable trend.
Вендоры в эту
Most of biggest Western vendors are moving in this direction. Some came to this earlier, some just are coming to this.
Несмотря на то, что это такой...
And behind all of this, irrespective of this trend, we do see a lot of hype around it, around this topic.
Про
If just for a second you will forget about IT, if you'll forget about the IT security, which is directly related to the IT and does addresses problems which are happening in the framework of exploitation of these needs from the point of view of cybersecurity.
всю эту историю, мы что понимаем? Что
So if you'll forget about all this story, you will understand which objective does the cybersecurity as an industry has. Cybersecurity.
построение экосистем. Не задача построения...
It's not an objective to build ecosystems. So they don't have an objective of building, creating hype around a recent trend that we've seen.
Юзер...
These were solutions
Да, по-русски не будем.
like behavioral analysis solutions,
Профилирование
Yeah.
поведения.
profiling of user behavior
Было много хайпа.
in the network. And there was a lot of hype around this topic. Yes, machine learning is developing, and why don't we encapsulate this data from information security under the wing of those solutions which use the machine learning algorithms? Then we can build models and we start catching deviations from those models. Initially, it sounds right and interesting, but there is a lot of hype and there is a lack of practical application in all of it. So honestly speaking,
Машинного обучения.
I'm not against machine learning. I will tell you this definitely. I really like it. And data science and
Это очень хорошее пространство.
data science school application, it's a good space for application of your efforts from the point of view of machine learning. However,
Та же самая.
the main goal is the same.
То есть создание
Informational security, creating technologies, solutions, methodologies, conditions where attackers cannot execute the initial penetration into the network or realize some activities which, from the business point of view,
неприемлемо. Вот какая
are not acceptable. That's the main objective, and we shouldn't forget about that, because behind all this technological hype and behind all these technological ideas which are being supported by marketing, PR departments,
соответствующая
and they create solutions for those hype challenges.
первичная история.
Sometimes we forget about this main story. Why do we create all of this? In order to reduce the gap between the attacker and defender.
Есть такие решения, технологии,
And when we do have those solutions, technologies, and practices which help us in the conditions of high employment deficit in the area of expertise in information security from the point of view of those people who use the information security solutions. And we need to give an opportunity to the whole world, to all companies globally,
создать условия,
to
когда
create conditions when attackers will not be able to achieve their goals. This is our main objective, and sometimes people forget about it when they
вкручиваются
are attacking other ideas which are being promoted by the marketing machine.
Что вот это недопустимо.
Okay, and finally, I would like to tell you that this inadmissible and impossible sounds from everybody who sits in my studio. So I think this is really understandable thing as a goal,
Результат.
because it determines measured result.
Хочу сделать
And inadmissible should not be possible. And in the end of our broadcasting, okay, Losha, take your hands.
вот Алексей, тот человек, который
Alexei is a person who uses his own hands to develop products which are being sold with the amounts of billions of rubles. I think
огромное достижение
this is a great achievement of creating this software with his hands and with his head. And this software is being practically applied on a global scale. And it can be expressed in such big money, which clients are ready to pay for these solutions. So can you finally tell us several reasons why talented developers who possibly have not even been thinking about moving to cybersecurity world, why should they think about it twice? Why should they think about becoming cybersecurity developer? Well, thank you very much for such nice words.
я сказал, сторону
Second of all, what would I say to developers?
буквально пару недель назад я немножко
Just a couple of weeks ago,
мероприятие, которое
I'll make a retrospective into a previous event.
сделать
We decided to have an open doors day. We have opened the pub, we have organized some beer, some food, and we have invited developers just to communicate with us. Not our recruiters. We didn't have any HR people,
организовать.
just developers who helped to organize it. And we wanted to give them opportunity to touch us
Убрать эту завесу не нужно.
and remove this veil of untouchability. We are those people who make these products, and we came there.
Руководители разработки
The head of the development department for different products, we've been communicating. We've told them what are our products, what do we create. We didn't want to sell us. We didn't want to kick the job offer. We just wanted people
познакомиться
to have an opportunity to learn about us. And if people wanted to learn about positive technologies and why there is so much hype around us, what's so interesting about us, and honestly speaking, this format was really viable.
в смысле, что
It's really interesting format because we've been able to communicate about different topics from hardware to software, from front end to back end, high load, machine architecture, machine learning, and of course,
мы все-таки в итоге
we do see a certain conversion and we have agreed about a certain joint work. So what would I say to developers,
смотрят в сторону кибербеза и как-то может
especially those who are interested in cybersecurity, or maybe those who think that this is something shadowy? Well, cybersecurity, like any other industry, is highly demanding industry to the engineering school. It's highly demanding to high loads, data science, to building complicated architectures.
Лучших практик в области
It's sensitive to application of development practices and other hype things in private clouds and blockchains. All this is expressed in cybersecurity solutions. That's why, what would I say?
приходите к нам, общайтесь с нами.
Please come to us, talk to us.
Форматов
We will definitely repeat this open door where we are going to show you openly in a direct touch. We're going to speak about our technologies, about ourselves, how do we create it, and whose hands are creating it. Thank you very much, Losha, for this interview. It was really interesting. And to my point of view, it was really inspiring, especially to those people who are interested in development and those who search for new possibilities for development, first of all, for their own desires and their own talents. Like Alexei have told us, in development, you need to know a lot of adjacent things which are going to help you to develop not a separate technology inside of a separate product, but you will work for the result which can be expressed that inadmissible events for companies and even states will become impossible events.